and 2. And so we're going to be reviewing how to tint and tone, tint and shade, and also tone our color. So if you have, with your marker, remember, if you needed to remind yourself value, remember value is the lightness or darkness of a color. To darkness. In painting, or color. So when we add, remember tinting, which we're going to practice today again, is any color plus white. Shading is color plus black. And tone is the color plus black and white, or the complement. Okay? So we're going to practice real quickly on just those 3 primary colors. Remember, red, yellow, and blue are the 3 colors that create all of the colors. And this is going to help prep you for your first assignment, which is the color wheel assignment, because this is what we're going to be practicing tinting, so make our color lighter, increasing the saturation, and then shading it with black. So it's going to go from light to full color to dark. And then in the middle, we're going to tone the color by adding gray, which is white and black, or the complement, which you remember is what the complement to red is. It's what the color across from red on the color wheel. Remember, complementary colors are colors that are side by side on the color wheel, and the complementary color for red is green. So when we're when we shade the color, when we talk about saturation, remember, color the red straight from the tube, that is 100% saturation. We haven't added anything to it, so that's the full color. And then when we add black to red, it makes it darker. That's called shading. Okay? When we take that red and we add white to it, that's called tinting. We make it lighter. So we're decreasing the saturation by adding white. Okay? This is still red. We call it pink, but that's all pink is red that has been tinted with white. And we're talking about, remember, the value scale. So white is tinting, black is shading. Real simple. That's what you're going to be doing for your color wheel for all of the colors. So we're just practicing, making sure we get the colors right. So what you want to do on your palette, remember, always make sure you have a variety of brushes so that you can keep your colors clean. And I never try to not dip dirty brushes into your white and keep your white pure white. So you can keep that on the side. And we're going to make first we're going to start with red, the first primary color. So remember, you dip your brush just to the tiny dot, and I'm going to add that to my white. So go ahead and do that. You're going to make your lightest, this is the lightest tint of red. So it almost looks white, but it's actually light red. And you're going to paint that right up here on top. It's going to be our lightest tint of red. And while we have this paint mixed with your pencil, I don't care if it's the same. We're just trying to get the general idea. Whatever worksheet you chose, I have the flower, so I'm going to lightly outline, and I'll do it a little bit darker so you can see it. I'm going to lightly outline the shapes of the flower down below. If you chose the lollipops or the ice cream scoop, I'm going to lightly outline those shapes. We're going to practice putting that paint down. So I have my flower and my pitcher. Okay? So I have that outlined. And I've made this light red right here, which I need in the highlight of my picture. So I'm going to put my highlight down. So I already got that color. I have a highlight in the handle of my picture. I have a highlight on the top lip of the picture. I'm going to put that down there on my composition. A couple of things. Remember, when you guys are mixing your paint, a lot of you don't need water unless you're washing out your color, your brushes, and you want to get in the habit of using, just using your well to mix that paint. Remember, you can scoop around. Oops, I went off. Scoop around, and that's going to get all the paint down into the well. And then you can also put your paintbrush up against that well, the wall, and you just twist and roll it, and that's going to help push the paint off. So all the paint is there. I'm gonna move. We're gonna start increasing the saturation. Remember, I want to make it darker. So I'm gonna take my brush, dip it in the red, put it there on the edge. I'm gonna slowly make my color increase in saturation. You also want to start getting in the habit of trusting your intuition. If the color is not dark enough, it's always better to go slowly from light to dark because you can always make those corrections. So it should look a little bit darker pink. We've added more red. I'm going to do the next level. See? Light. Start slowly getting dark. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to add some more red. Kind of adding the same amount each time. Notice I'm keeping my colors clean, not mixing the colors. If it doesn't look like it's changing, if it's the same color, then that means you need to add more red to it. You can push all the paint off on the top, roll it, scoop it up. There we go. See how it's slowly increasing in saturation? Getting darker red. 1, 2, 3. We want nice, even paint. We don't want to see through it. I'm going to go add more red now. The last one. See how that looks too close? That means I need to add a little bit more red. That's okay. I just go back and I add some more red. There we go. Remember, your paint should be smooth and creamy, almost like yogurt. You don't want to see through it. If you can see through it, that means you have too much water. Stop using water. Wash your brush off on the paper towel. You should have paint in your well that you can use. And this is the color of my picture. So I'm going to now take my paint that I've mixed, and I'm going to put it down here. So I don't have to go back and remix it. So as we are painting, we're using that paint down below. Kind of paint in our composition. If you need smaller paintbrushes, you can get them for details. So I have my picture. And now I'm going to add and this one right here, this one on the corner, this should be pure red, full saturation. I'm going to put that down here in the corner. Full red. And the one in the middle is actually a perfect combination of both. So I'm just adding red to that mixture. So it's going to be right before it goes to full saturation. Just full value scale. You want to make sure that you're adding enough so it's almost red, but it's still a dark pink. And this will be should have at least there we go. So see how it's slowly increasing to red. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of value tinting from light red to dark red. And then now we're going to shade it by adding black to the red. And we'll be doing the same technique with shading, but instead of adding white to the color, we're adding black to the color. You can see what's there. It's kind of hard, it's kind of light to see, but that's all I did. When we shade it, we're going to get a well open with red. We're just going to put the red in. See, I'm rolling it off my brush. You can get as much paint as you need at any time. You don't have to ask. So now I'm gonna start to make my red darker in value by shading it and adding black. So same thing I did with my white. I'm going to dip my brush, see a tiny bit of the black. I'm going to mix it into my red. There's no white in this red. This is just pure red. Straight from the tube, 100% saturation. So that made my red a little bit darker. It doesn't look dark enough, so I need to add a little bit more. So I'm going to go back. I need to add a little bit more black. I want to make sure that I can visually see that color getting darker. If it looks the same, I'm not adding enough. So this should look like a deep, what we call like a deep red. Van Horn color. A little bit darker. Notice how I'm using enough paint so I don't see through it. It's slowly getting darker. Do the same thing. Scoop up all my paint into a well, the mixing well. I'm going to roll the paint off. Now I'm going to get some more of the black paint. Now I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So it should start to look like it's a brick red. Or Dr. Pepper, you know, that brick red and the Dr. Pepper label. That's the color it should be right now. And the last one, just like the black, more black. We don't want it to be black, but we're making it the darkest red possible. If I could add a little bit more black. So that looks like burgundy. We call burgundy. Okay, so you can see the nice progression from light. Sure, of course. So now we have a full value scale. So when you guys do your next project, you would do, this is going to be your palette for each color, from light to dark. Remember, we're never using pure white. We're only using white to make the color lighter. And we're never using pure black in a painting. We use it to make our color darker. The next thing we're going to do is called toning. And toning is where you already have in your palette, you already have the color mixed with the red and the white. Before I move forward, I actually want to paint in my picture down below. This is red. This is between these two. This is full red right here. This is the red and white, a little bit of white. It's almost red. So down here, I'm going to use this paint that I already made. I want to start painting in the edges of my picture that are dark, because I already got the pink in. So I'm using the red that I've mixed, and I'm putting in the picture. So I have all the values mixed on my composition, so I'm taking advantage of that. So I don't have to remix anything. Matching those values. All right, so I got my picture, and now I want to do I have the dark red, so I can do my shadows. If you notice, we're working in layers, just like an onion. It's all about value. You've also noticed I'm not really blending the colors together. This is what a term that's called broken color. So your eyes optically mix the colors together. I'm just putting the dark red where I see the darkest part of that picture, the shadows. Okay? So I got my picture. And now I'm going to do the toning. So I already have, my paintbrush already has black on it. I can make gray with white and black, but it already has black on it, and I already have red and white here, right? So all I'm going to do is take some of that red and white that I already have. I'm going to mix it into the darkest one that I've made, because this is called toning. So I'm basically making it duller. That's what toning is called. So you could also use green I'm going to paint that here. It looks lighter than the darkest value. It's going to look like mauve. And then I'm going to keep adding red and white to that color. To make it lighter. So I'm just going in reverse. Down the color wheel. Or down the in value. So I've made it lighter. Add more red and white. And that's toning. So you're just adding white and black to your color. Kind of hard to see on the screen, but I'll bring it over to show you. You got it. You're doing excellent. So there's more red there. And you can add black. Yeah, so put more. The demo for the ice cream scoop is loaded on Classroom too. So once you get that done, then you're going to move to the next primary color, which is blue. And we're going to do the same thing with blue. And then also paint down below. So I will help you get that done. I'll do a demo. If you need to clean out your brushes, get fresh water, get more paint, whatever you need. You just condense these activities down so we can get straight to the project. It's going to improve your color mixing skills. Oh no, it's perfect. You got it. Oh, you mix the colors together. So red and green make gray. You mix yellow and purple together, that makes brown, and orange and blue. If it's like when you're mixing the colors together, like if you, for example, if you're doing orange and blue and it's too blue, that means you have to use more orange. So just use a little bit. And you're just using even amounts to get those colors. So the next one, like I said, we're going to do is blue. have the blue here. And we're going to start off the same way. So you want to get your white. Make sure you have white in your well. And then we're going to add blue to it to make it light blue. Same way we did the red. The lightest tint of blue, and I'm going to put that up here on top. Please try your best to try and get nice smooth color. And I'm going to slowly keep increasing it. So I'm increasing the saturation of my blue. And trust your intuition. If the color is not changing enough, you're going to add more blue to it. With the value to be noticeable difference. If it's not, you just add more blue. No big deal. And make sure you have, everybody should be able to have 3 or more paintbrushes. So like that right there, still it's a little too close. I'm going to add a little bit more blue. Roll the paint off. There we go. And slowly increasing that color. Still too close. And I just keep increasing the blue. I need more blue for that next part. So this one right here is straight blue, and we're blue at full saturation. And then I'm going to start mixing black into my blue. Got a little bit too much, so I'm rolling it off. Remember to paint gently into the side. That'll help you get smooth, even coverage. So I have my blue value scale, and now I'm going to add black. Before I do, I want to get that the background of my flower painted in, because that's the right color. So I'm going to lay my blue in. I'm just going, always as I'm mixing the color, just using that color that I'm mixing up on top to paint down below. I'm going to go straight through that top too, because I can paint my, if you've noticed, once it's dry, you can paint right over. So I'll put my stem back in when we'll make some green. Or not, doesn't matter. Mainly care about the basic color of your petals. There we go. See, I'm just blocking out that area with the blue that I've just mixed. If you use enough paint when you're mixing, you'll have plenty to work with, no matter what you're painting. With the ice cream scoop, I kind of did the lighter colors first, and then I went back over with a darker value and kind of, which I'm going to do with the background yellow of this, put the texture on top. And now I'm going to add black to my blue, and I'm going to shade my blue. So same thing we did before. Take our blue, and I'm going to slowly add black to it. So I added a little bit of black to my blue. It's going to look a little bit darker in value. Kind of like a navy blue. I'm going to add more black to it. It's going to keep increasing in darkness. The last one. Do a little bit of that shadow underneath. Gives me a nice pop. A blue shadow. Now I'm going to do my toning. Remember, I have my blue and black here. I'm going to add a little bit of the blue and white to it, which I already have mixed, so I can just mix it straight into that well. And it's going to look like a light, almost like a blue-green even. And I just keep adding blue and white to the color to make it lighter and duller. So see, you get a totally different look when you add the white and black to it. It gets lighter and duller. And I'll bring it around to show you too if you need it. Like I mentioned earlier, I added this to the lesson. The other schools aren't doing this one. I decided to change it. It's similar, but the color tower is smaller, and you also get to practice painting an object. So fine detail. Oh, yeah, you did. Which one are you doing? dirty. Keep one clean and one dirty. And then you take orange, make sure it's not too yellow. And you sprinkle it up there. Too orange and so yellow food. You gotta add this to it. So, light blue and dark blue. No, that's perfect. So now you're going to add white and black. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, and then you keep increasing the amount of the color. Right, John? We're getting it. That's what we're practicing. And the last one we're going to do is yellow. We're going to do yellow. Huh? Well, yellow is the hardest, and that's why I save it for the last, because when yellow starts to mix with black, it turns almost a little green. You have to use more paint because yellow is transparent, which means it's more see-through. So you have to use thicker paint. Yeah, we can clean your belt. Yeah. All right, so for yellow, like I said, yellow is the most transparent color. So you might have to use a little bit more than the other ones. And you want to make sure that your colors are clean for this, because it will change if it has, you know, a slight amount of blue or red in it. So you want to make sure that you have white, yellow, and black. So same way before, I'm going to pee a tiny dot of the yellow into the white, and it's going to make the lightest tint of yellow. And these will be uploaded too, so you'll be able to pause them or watch them again. And I'm also going to put it a little bit down on the bottom paint where the highlight is. And I'm going to keep increasing the yellow, make it a little bit darker. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. Yellow is pretty subtle. So, like I said, it's the hardest one to do. But by this time, you should have enough practice and you should be smooth sailing. I'm going to add a little bit more. So it's slowly increasing in value. The hue is starting to come together. I can see it getting darker as I'm moving down that scale. I need to add a little bit more yellow. Always mix on your mixing tray too. Make sure you have enough paint. If you've noticed, I've reloaded my paint on my palette 3 times already. And I'm not really using water. I only wash my brushes out. So there we go. I'm going to lay in my light yellow where the highlights are down here on my petals. So I can come back in. Remember, we're working in layers, so if you notice, I'm laying down the light yellow first, and I'm going to come back in with a darker yellow and put in a darker yellows on top, and that will make it stand out more. And that will be, you know, when you guys are doing your ice cream scoops or your lollipop, whatever picture you chose, I recommend doing it this way. Because it's like a base color. And then the darker outlines will stand out more. You can certainly layer put more highlights back into it when you're done, but this is a really good way of doing it. So see, I blocked out my flower with the yellow, like that. And while I have that yellow mix and I still have my blue, I could also quickly go and mix some yellow into that blue to get my stem. Because I need to paint that back in. See how I painted that right over? This paint has, works pretty well layer-wise. So I put my stem back in. Now I'm back in business. Okay. And now I'm going to do the last layer, yellow and white, and mix some more yellow into that. White. That's going to be the middle one. And this one right here is going to be pure yellow. And if those two look too much the same, so I'm going to put a little bit more white into that. Make sure it fixed it. There we go. So I have that progression of yellow. And now I want to make sure I'm gonna tone my yellow. And remember, I don't want any white at all in my yellow. It has to be clean or it's gonna blend together. So I got my colors clean. Before I move to the next level, I have my clean yellow. I can also start to come in and put some of that golden yellow into my flower before I see it get darker. Just trying to match the pictures best you can. Doesn't have to be completely accurate. There can be some differences. This is how you blend the colors. See, I'm blending that into there. So now I have some darker areas. And now I'm going to add my black to my yellow. And I'm going to take some of the yellow out because I don't want all of it. I want to save some of that yellow. And I'm going to slowly add black to it. So see how transparent the yellow is? It's the hardest one to do. So I kind of just drop it down. then I'm gonna also put it, I'm gonna take some of that paint, I'm gonna move it to the next one. So I want to use that paint, but I don't want white in it. I'm gonna add some more black to it, so I can make it darker. So you're always increasing. You're either adding more white or you're adding more black. And then the final one, which I'm gonna do, so you have a progression, light, yellow, and I slowly add a black each one so it gets darker and darker. And that's the shade, the last shade. So now I can come in and I can finish my flower. So I've got the darkest value, so I'm just going to put the middle of the flower there. Before I start toning. So now I'm putting the tone back into my flower. So it's going to make my flower, just the wet paint is there so it helps me blend. And I can get my petals. More realistic. Okay. And I'm gonna, when I add tone, remember it's white and black. So I already got my white and yellow here. So I'm just gonna mix that into my dark yellow. And I have my darkest tone. And then I'm gonna keep adding yellow and white to it. Of course. There we go. And you can mix, if you notice the yellow and the red together to get some of that golden color in. We can mix those colors together to get that golden orange, which we already got started happening. Thank you. And I can start layering that in. That's right over the tone. That I laid down. If I need to put highlights back in, I still can. It's certainly not too late. This is basically just how we do the paints. I'll post this demo video up for you so you can go back and catch up if you need to. I have the ice cream one loading right now. So I've got the darker shadows of the flower in, and now I'm going to come back in with my yellow and white. So I want to get those highlights that I painted over, and I'm going to add those highlights in. And adding white to the yellow will help those highlights pop out more too. So I can come back in and I can put that in. And for that middle part, I can just, same with the ice cream, so I'm doing, instead of painting, I'm doing dots. That's going to give me that texture feel. Okay? And I have that dark yellow in, so I could come in and put some of that detail in the middle of the flower. And the stamen kind of comes in like a little star point. And I could even put kind of some of the shadows that are in that outline of the petals in, so it kind of highlights where it's curving in. Where the folds of the petals are. Just little pops of those colors. Alright. Stop the